Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Okay. Worked? Well, we rehearsed a lot. We three. Okay. He walked through the door, he left it open. Could you jump up and get that? Thanks. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Page 438. On this 25th day of February, 2020 in SanDiego, we're reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 10, entitled The Opulence of the Absolute. Text number 15, page 438. Svayamevatmanatmanam Vettatvam Purushottama Bhuta Bhavana Bhutesha Deva Deva Jagatpate Svayamevatmanatmanam Vettatvam Purushottama Bhuta Bhavana Bhutesha Deva Deva Jagatpate Svayamevatmanatmanam Vettatvam Purushottama Bhuta Bhavana Bhutesha Deva Deva Jagatpate Svayamevatmanatmanam Vettatvam Purushottama Bhuta Bhavana Bhutesha Deva Deva Jagatpate Svayamevatmanatmanam Vettatvam Purushottama Bhuta Bhavana Bhutesha Deva Deva Jagatpate Svayamevatmanatmanam Vetatvam Purushottama Bhuta Bhavana Bhutesha Deva Deva Jagatpadeya. Alex, you want to try? Svayamevatmanatmanam Vetatvam Purushottama Bhuta Bhavana Bhutesha Deva Deva Jagatpate. Okay, I'll read through the synonyms. Swayam, personally, Eva, certainly. Atmana, by yourself. Atmanam, yourself. Veta, no. Tvam, you. Purusha Uttama, O greatest of all persons. Bhuta Bhavana, O origin of everything. Bhuta Isha, O Lord of everything. Deva Deva, O Lord of all demigods. Jagatpate, O Lord of the entire universe. Translation. Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, Lord Arjuna says to Lord Krishna, indeed, you alone know yourself by your own internal potency, O Supreme Person, Origin of all, Lord of all beings, God of gods, Lord of the universe. Purport. The Supreme Lord, Krishna, can be known by persons who are in a relationship with him through the discharge of devotional service. Page 438. Okay. Like Arjuna and his followers, persons of demonic or atheistic mentality cannot know Krishna. Mental speculation that leads one away from the Supreme Lord is a serious sin, and one who does not know Krishna should not try to comment on the Bhagavad Gita. Oh boy, there's a mistake there. But the Bhagavad Gita is the statement of Krishna, and since it is the science of Krishna, it should be understood from Krishna as Arjuna understood it. It should not be received from atheistic persons. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1-11. All right, let's try this. I'll say, you say. Padanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdyate. The supreme truth is realized in three aspects: as impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and at last as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So at the last stage of understanding the Absolute Truth, one comes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A common man, or even a liberated man who has realized the impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma, may not understand God's personality. Such men, therefore, may endeavor to understand the Supreme Person from the verses of the Bhagavad Gita, which are being spoken by this person, Krishna. Sometimes the impersonalists accept Krishna as Bhagavan, or they accept his authority. Yet many liberated persons cannot understand Krishna as Purushottama, the Supreme Person. Therefore, Arjuna addresses him as Purushottam. Yet one still may not understand that Krishna is the father of all living entities. Therefore, Arjuna addresses him as Bhuta Bhavana. And if one comes to know him as the father of all the living entities, still one may not know him as the supreme controller. Therefore, he is addressed here as Bhutesha, the supreme controller of everyone. And even if one knows Krishna as the supreme controller of all living entities, still one may not know that he is the origin of all the demigods. Therefore, he is addressed herein as Deva Deva, the worshipful God of all demigods. And if one knows him as the worshipful God of all demigods, one may not know that he is the supreme proprietor of everything. Therefore, he is addressed as Jagatpati. Thus, the truth about Krishna is established in this verse by the realization of Arjuna, and we should follow in the footsteps of Arjuna to understand Krishna as he is. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, if you look back and kind of review the verses that we've read so far in this chapter, you'll see that there's a kind of a theme here, and one is that how can you know Krishna? How can you know God? He keeps saying, even the demigods, text 2, Neither the host of the demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and the sages. So they can't know me in truth. But one who does know me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the supreme Lord of all the worlds, he only, undiluted among men, is freed from all sins. And then Krishna starts to explain how he's the source of everything. Not only everything that's positive, but even the negatives. He has a whole list here. And it all begins, very positive: intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt and delusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, control of the senses, control of the mind, happiness and distress, birth, death, fear, fearlessness. In other words, Krishna is the source of everything. This is the first of the key verses. I mentioned there's 4 key verses beginning with 8. The first thing it says, I am the source of everything. Aham sarvasya bhavavo. So this is a theme, that he's the source of everything, and therefore nothing that's created by him, or no one created by him, can fully understand him as he is, because he's the source of that demigod, or whatever it may be. So he goes on like that, and this is part of his vibhuti. Remember, vibhuti is a word that means opulence. That's why this chapter is called the opulence of the Absolute. Each of the chapters, officially in most editions, the Sanskrit editions, there are different kind of yoga. So this is vibhuti yoga. You'll find karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, vibhuti yoga, and I can give you all those different yogas. And this one is the word vibhuti keeps coming up in this chapter, because he's going to delineate his opulences. So the verse we read today, Arjuna says, you alone can know yourself by your own internal potencies. In other words, Krishna's characteristics, his powers, are so vast and so complicated that only someone who's omniscient can actually understand them. Prabhupada says it elsewhere, or maybe he says in one of these purports, that Krishna is so great that he's increasing at every moment. He doesn't even know who he is, everything about himself. Then the next moment his knowledge expands, but then he expands again. It's that type of thing. If your God is so great, can he create something that he can't lift? And the answer is, well, yes, he can create such a thing, but then he'll lift it the next moment because he increases his potency. Probably it says that one place. So it's like this chapter is trying to expand our, awe and reverence. This is like an awesome chapter, and the next one is even more so. The universal form. You've read that, Krishna is devouring the whole universe, and Arjuna is afraid. So we're coming to kind of a crescendo here, and this 10th chapter is part of it. So now Arjuna is expressing his ecstasy, in having this revelation. These are names: Bhuta Bhavana, Bhutesha, Deva Deva, Jagatpate. And as Prabhupada explains in the purport, each one is more all-inclusive. You may know that he's Bhuta Bhavana, but you don't know that he's Bhutesha. And finally, Jagatpate is the Lord of the universe. Now, one thing I wanted to point out, so much of Krishna consciousness, the process of Bhakti Yoga, is really kind of a prayer. All of this chanting of the holy name and all these mantras we're chanting and seeing the deities, we're meant to be in kind of a prayerful mood, meaning that, please forgive me for all my nonsense, take away my impurities, bring me closer to you, engage me in your service. The Prabhupada said the underlying motivation or idea when we chant should be, oh, my dear Lord Krishna, Srimati Radharani, please engage me in your service. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So when we pray, we want to be sure that, we be confident in that we are praying to the Supreme Lord and that He can really fulfill our prayers. I was pointing this out in relation to the Tulsi song, that those who come early in the morning, that we sing every morning, this Tulsi prayer. If you ever come on Saturday night, they also sing it. It's a prayer Prabhupada told us, a song he taught us, and it begins, Namo Namo Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namo. So first is obeisances, then glorification. You're dear to Krishna. That's the most glorious position to be in. You're most dear to Krishna. Those who surrender to you have their wishes fulfilled. Now I'm confident that because you're such a dear servant of Krishna, you can fulfill this wish that this prayer that I'm going to give, present before you. And so what's the prayer? The prayer, following in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is nothing material. The prayer is that I will always, it's right at the beginning of the song, Radha Krishna Seva Pavo E Abhilasi. Abhilash. Abhilash is not just ash. Asha means a desire. Abhilash means my longing desire, my most longed for object, is what? Radha Krishna Seva Pavo, the service of Radha and Krishna. We don't have it now. We forgot it. So it wants to be reinstated. And how do I know that you can give it? Because you're dear to Krishna. And those who surrender unto you have their wishes fulfilled, because Krishna blesses them with the fulfillment of desire. So this is a central point of all this glorification, can set us up for, if we believe it, we understand, for praying, for prayer, because we're confident that Krishna can really fulfill it. You see the logic of it? As I mentioned before, and this is an important concept, the 9 processes of devotional service: hearing, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing, chanting, and remembering. Those are the foundation of everything. Hearing is the foundation, and then chanting, and then from those 2 you get remembrance. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, serving the lotus feet. That has to do a lot of it with deity worship, and especially those who can go on the altar and personally, but serving Pada Archanam. All of the deity worship is Archanam. Now, many of us can't get on the altar. I don't go on the altar anymore. I used to many years ago, regularly. So where's our Archanam? Just coming before the deities, chanting Hare Krishna, that's our Archanam. And this is also part of the temple, obviously. That's why, I don't know if you've ever seen, when I come in here, I'm puttering around, straightening the thing, picking up stuff, making it like an altar. In other words, everything should be ship-shape right in this very sacred room. And that's deity worship, because it's all for the pleasure of the deities. Vandana, now then comes Vandanam. Now Vandanam has 3 aspects. The first one that's so famous is bowing down. Our great acharyas, Raghunath Das Goswami would bow down 1,000 times each day to different Vaishnavas. I mean, that takes a while. Literally bowing down. But that bowing down is so important because it recognizes, this is from the Padma Purana, there's an analysis of what the word namaha means, which is there, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vasaya, Namaste Saraswati Devi. It's all over the place, and oftentimes it's Namo Namaha. Again and again I bow down repeatedly. So what is this namaha? Now, of course it means bowing down, but it's been analyzed as I like to do in these shastras in different ways. First of all, there's different levels of namaha. Like if you ever fly, I would try to avoid it if possible, but in my going to India, Air India, the state-owned airline, anyway, I'll tell you a story about that one time. But you get on there, and what we used to call stewardesses, and they'll say, namaste. It's part of the English language now, namaste. They're not really bowing down, but that's what it means, that namaste, I better. But it's kind of just a greeting. It's a nice greeting. So that's the first level, kind of just hello, polite. Then there's really bowing down, but not doing the whole full dandavat. Dandavat means like a stick, which is basically just for the men. But I won't get into that now. But the idea is the usual bowing down that we do when we're saying our pranams to Prabhupada or anyone, and you've got the bend there. So that's serious. But the dandavat, which you have 8 parts of your body touching the ground or something, that's the full surrender. So to analyze that, the word nama means not mine. This body, mind and words that I possess, have some control over, it's not mine anymore, it's yours. So what would you like me to do? That's the level of surrender that they're talking about. That's what pranam means. Now, you want to be sure, if when you offer those pranams to somebody, that they're, not going to take advantage of you. That's the key. So that's why all this understanding of who Krishna is, who the spiritual master is, that they're not out to exploit us. They're out to help us. And we have to break down these big Himalayan mountains of false ego that we've been building up forever. So this chapter and the next one, and all the glories of Krishna's vibhutis and his wonders, helps us to understand our position as supplicants. Please take me back in, protect me, and engage me in your service. because I'm just helpless here before the material energy. It's a complete illusion that we have some control, you know. I mean, you've heard of the coronavirus, right? You know, it hasn't hit yet in America. We're trying to, it's an illusion, but it's like a pandemic. I've never been through one of those. My mother, she passed away in 2006 at the age of 96. And she went through the flu pandemic in the early 20th century. She was just a kid. Maybe, I don't know, 8, 9 years old, I think. And her mother, they wouldn't let him go out on the street. They kept him in the house. If you want to play, you can go out onto the fire escape. You know, this is New York, where you can get out of it. So they went out on the fire escape and came back inside. I don't know how long that lasted, weeks and weeks. You know, when I was a kid, the polio was a big thing. Polio was still, you remember that. Every summer, there was the parents would try to protect their kids and get polio. One of my friends had polio, couldn't walk properly. You know, so we can't, you know, what can I do with these diseases? You know, I mean, when they get going, they're going to go all over the place. We're helpless. All we're going to do is pray. So, Arjuna now is in great ecstasy here. He's chanting the names, Bhuta Bhavana, Bhutesha, Devadeva, Jagatpate, and Prabhupada analyzes all that. And now he's going to ask Krishna, and this will set up the rest of the chapter, Krishna to delineate in detail how he manifests his vibhutis, his opulences within this material world, because it helps us to see him through the. After all, we can see the things of this world. One of the things is the ocean, bodies of water on the ocean. Well, okay, we have a great opportunity. We can see whenever we go down there. Don't just groove on the waves or whatever it may be, you know, but see, the magnificence of the ocean is a spark of Krishna's power and splendor, and you can see Krishna in everything. Okay, so we'll go on. Text 16, and notice the word vibhuti appears twice in this verse that we're next chanting. Vaktama hasta sheshena divyayatma vibhutayaha Ya bir vibhuti bir lokan imam tvam vyapyatishtasi. Arjuna continues, please tell me in detail of your divine opulences by which you pervade all these worlds. Purport. In this verse it appears that Arjuna is already satisfied with his understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. By Krishna's grace, Arjuna has personal experience, intelligence, and knowledge, and whatever else a person may have, and through all these agencies he has understood Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For him there is no doubt. Yet he is asking Krishna to explain his all-pervading nature. People in general, and the impersonalists in particular, concern themselves mainly with the all-pervading nature of the Supreme. So Arjuna is asking Krishna how he exists in his all-pervading aspect through his different energies. One should know that this is being asked by Arjuna on behalf of the common people. Okay, so this verse is a change of pace now. In other words, Arjuna has already had the revelation in text 8 through 11. Krishna is just described as, I'm the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And someone who understands that worships me with all their heart by thinking of me and dedicating their life to me and glorifying me amongst the other devotees and enjoying spiritual pleasure that way. And to those who are always connected with me in that way, I give them the intelligence by which they can come to me because I'm in their heart. With the shining lamp of knowledge, I destroy the darkness of ignorance because I feel compassion for them. So all of that's the essential verses. Then Arjuna, in his response, says, yes, I believe everything you're telling me. You are the Supreme Brahman, you're the Supreme Abode, you're the Supreme Purifier, the Lord. And it's not just that I believe it because I'm your friend, but it's backed up by the words of Vyasadeva and Narada Muni and Asaladeva and all these. Okay, so then, now what? Now the Gita could end right there. I believe everything you've told me, I understand you're God, and I will fight. But no, because we need more detail. He's asking these questions so that to help us. He doesn't need to see Krishna in the glories of this world. He's seeing him personally. So in a sense, this starts the whole remainder of the book. because, it's kind of complete. And when Arjuna realizes that Krishna is God, he realized it already, but he has this deeper realization. He says, I believe everything you say. All right, so why not follow my orders and fight? But that the Gita is spoken not just for Arjuna, but it's spoken for us. In fact, Arjuna was put into illusion so that the Gita would be spoken, so that we can benefit from it. For the whole world. So we need all these details, because we can't see Krishna. We don't have Krishna sitting in our chariot. We need to have a way where we can perceive him and train our vision so that we can eventually see him everywhere. That's what this is all about. All right, going on. And Arjuna continues to ask the question. Katam vidyamaham yogims tvam sada parichintayan keshu keshu cha bhaveshu chintyosi bhagavan maya. O Krishna, O Supreme Mystic, how shall I constantly think of you? And how shall I know you? In what various forms are you to be remembered, O Supreme Personality of Godhead? Excuse me. Purport. As it is stated in the previous chapter, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is covered by his Yoga Maya. Only surrendered souls and devotees can see him. Now Arjuna is convinced that his friend Krishna is the Supreme Godhead, but he wants to know the general process by which the all-pervading Lord can be understood by the common man. Common men, including the demons and atheists, cannot know Krishna, because he's guarded by his Yogamaya energy. Again, these questions are asked by Arjuna for their benefit. The superior devotee is concerned not only for his own understanding, but for the understanding of all mankind. So Arjuna, out of his mercy, because he is a Vaishnava, a devotee, is opening for the common man the understanding of the all-pervasiveness of the Supreme Lord. He addresses Krishna specifically as Yogin, because Sri Krishna is the master of the Yogamaya energy, by which he, Krishna, is covered and uncovered to the common man. The common man who has no love for Krishna cannot always think of Krishna. Therefore he has to think materially. Arjuna is considering the mode of thinking of the materialistic persons of this world. The words keshu keshu cha bhaveshu refer to material nature. The word bhava means physical things. Because materialists cannot understand Krishna spiritually, they are advised to concentrate the mind on physical things and try to see how Krishna is manifested by physical representations. So we had a similar phenomenon in the 7th chapter, where Krishna is describing to Arjuna. And you remember how the 7th chapter, of course, was preceded by the 6th chapter, in which Krishna had to explain to Arjuna some of the details of the dhyana yoga system, Ashtanga yoga. Going alone. He's outlining, go alone to a sacred place, complete celibacy, sit like this with your back straight. If your back isn't straight, you can't concentrate. Breathing process, and then, think of me within the heart, and all these things. And, and he outlined the benefits. It's fantastic. You'll reach a state of samadhi in which you're enjoying, yourself through transcendental senses. Once having attained this, you'll think there's no greater attainment. You'll be completely free of all misery and able, like that. There's no greater gain. So it sounds like it's worth trying for. But Arjuna rejects it. He says, I can't do that. Yeah, we don't have to. We don't have to do it. All we have to do is chant Hare Krishna. So Arjuna rejects it. Krishna encourages him. You can do it by practice. So Arjuna says, okay, well, what if I fail? He says, no worries. You'll be born in a Sruchinam Shrimatam Gehe, in a pure family, Brahmin family, even a yogi family, like that. But Arjuna is saying, this mind is like a tornado or like a hurricane. There's no way to control it. Chanchalam himana Krishna. And we've all experienced it. The mind goes here and there. Sometimes it's compared to a bee. Sometimes it's compared to a wild horse that you can't control. Yeah, this is in the Shastra also. Or the wind. Dasyaham nigraham mane vayu ivasu dushkaram. And so, at the end, Arjuna says, well, If I fail, won't I be like a riven cloud? I won't have it standing in either way. So finally, Krishna says, don't worry. Yogi nama visarvesham. The greatest yogi is one who always thinks with me in his heart, with great love and faith, And that's Arjuna. He's always thinking of Krishna. He's his best friend. But what about us? So then the next chapter, Krishna says, now I'm going to teach you how that your mind could be naturally attracted to me. You don't have to go to the Himalayas, your everyday life. So he says it's rare. It's rare for someone even to want perfection, spiritual perfection. And of those who achieve some kind of spiritual perfection, it's very rare to be a devotee. But now I'm going to tell you a practical way how you can be a devotee, even in your ordinary life. And he proceeds to explain how this material world is nothing but his energies. And that within the interaction of ourselves with that material energy, how the senses interact, like how? Taste, the light, the sound, right? All these things we have. That's me. Rasoham apsakontaya pabasmi shashishuya pranabhaksava vedeshu shabdake parusham. It says, I am the taste of water. I am the light of the sun and the moon. I have the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the fragrance of the earth. I am the strength of the strong. We're always experiencing one or more of those things. Right? So if we can just remember those verses, then we'll be Krishna conscious. We'll think, well, this is Krishna's energy. And it's a fact. But we won't remember those verses if we try to enjoy those experiences and for our sense gratification. That's where Maya comes in, the power of Maya. So the trick is seeing Krishna that way, and whenever possible, engaging those things, our senses and our sensuality, whatever you call it, our mind, in the service of Krishna. How do we do that? That we need training. That's where we have the books, we have the acharyas and everything. I mean, we could just as easily, chant or vibrate any millions of trillions of other sounds besides Hare Krishna. But if we are encouraged and we surrender even that far to the instructor and say, no, you should chant this sound. This is the sound. This is the holy sound of the holy name. And gives us proofs and experience in so many books. Okay, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay. Now that one-time chanting is like so beneficial. We don't realize how many millions of lifetimes of sinful reactions have been eradicated. Just by not even one chanting of Hare Krishna mantra, but just one chanting of the name Krishna. So the idea is that was sound, that was the tongue, the same senses that can be used for Maya are used for Krishna. And so gradually we get to appreciate not only that Krishna is the taste of water, but this water has now been offered to Krishna, it's blessed, now it's prasadam, you can think of Krishna, it's part of the remnants. That's a deeper experience. So the idea is that we got that in the 7th chapter, right? And we got some of that in the 9th chapter, and now we're going to get it in spades in the 10th chapter. How to see Krishna in all of this, when anything of any power, beauty, grace, or any high quality, which is, this is just a little reflection of Krishna's glory. And that will help us to be Krishna conscious in his lifetime. So that's what Arjuna is asking him for our benefit. He's sitting on the chariot with God. He doesn't need this. But he's doing it for our benefit. And let's go on. Vishtadenatmano yogam vibhutim cha janardana bhuya kataya triptirhi shinvato nasti memratam. O Janardana, again please describe in detail the mystic power of your opulences. I am never satiated in hearing about you, for the more I hear, the more I want to taste the nectar of your words. Purport. A similar statement was made to Sutta Goswami by the rishis of Naimisharanya, headed by Shaunaka. That statement is, Vayam tuna vitripyama uttama shloka vikrame yakchinvatam rasagyanam svadu svadu pade pade. One can never be satiated even though one continuously hears the transcendental pastimes of Krishna, who is glorified by excellent prayers. Those who have entered into a transcendental relationship with Krishna relish at every step the descriptions of the pastimes of the Lord. Bhagavatam 1:119. Thus Arjuna is interested in hearing about Krishna and specifically how he remains as the all-pervading Supreme Lord. Now, as far as Amritam, nectar, is concerned, any narration or statement concerning Krishna is just like nectar. And this nectar can be perceived by practical experience. Modern stories, fiction, and histories are different from the transcendental pastimes of the Lord in that one will tire of hearing mundane stories, but one never tires of hearing about Krishna. It is for this reason only that the history of the whole universe is replete with references to the pastimes of the incarnations of Godhead. The Puranas are histories of bygone ages that relate the pastimes of the various incarnations of the Lord. In this way, the reading matter remains forever fresh, despite repeated readings. Prabhupada tells how in the early days when he was growing up in India, of course, there was no television. Radio came in eventually, but so what would people do for entertainment? They had bards, they had poets who would go around to the different villages in Bengal, and they would sing, the Mahabharata, or they would sing the Ramayana, Lord Chaitanya's, and people would come, and that would be their entertainment in the evening, and they'd take rest, dreaming of those things, and wake up. You can see how wholesome that is. Prabhupada started this movement that way. Morning and evening program. Like I'm trying to, keep this evening program thing going, because I know Prabhupada wanted it. It's called a sandwich. And we used to, in New York, when I joined, was going full bore. And, everybody would come to the morning program. Now it was without question. And they would, be highly encouraged to arrange their day so they could also be there in time for the evening program, the evening arti. It was a whole different mood. The morning was, very meditative, 4:30 in the morning, just like we have the lights down here, and it's all, you're chanting the glories to the spiritual master, and then the preliminary then is the japa meditation. But the evening, everyone's been, there's been a lot of chanting going on, a lot of street chanting and everything, everyone's kind of fired up, lights are up, and you'd sing this Gaur Arti song, which is, we don't sing it anymore, but it's just fabulous. I think Vishnu Jan, the legendary Vishnu Jan, he came up with the melody for this. Kiba Jaya Jaya Gaura Chande. I forget all the words. How's it go? Adiya Shobha. But what it is a description of what is called the Mahaprakash. I don't know if you knew that. Mahaprakash is when Lord Chaitanya, who of course would deny that he was Vishnu. If you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, sometimes, they would say, "Oh, you must be God." He said, "No, no living entity can be God." He would block his ears. He really was Vishnu, and his intimate devotees knew that. But he wanted to give an example that no human being should take that role. Anyway, so in this particular case, this has happened at Srivas' house, pretty sure, and he actually sat down on the altar. And he accepted worship as God for like 22 hours or something like that. 22 hours. And everyone came and they were offering worship, and it was the whole thing. So that's what's being described on the bank of the Ganges, which is where the Shiva Sangan is. It's right next to the Mayapur temple that we had. He revealed that, and it's ecstatic songs. So we're all, everyone's up dancing, and there's Lord Chaitanya, every night in the evening arti. And then after that, there would be a Bhagavad Gita class, also a little nectar of devotion. And then after that, we'd all go downstairs where the Prasadam hall was right under the temple. And we'd have hot milk and listen to Krishna book, and then take rest and dream of Krishna, hopefully, and then get up and start again. That was it, And the whole idea is that it never gets tired. You're listening to these stories about Krishna in the Krishna book or Lord Chaitanya's story, and you can just keep going again and again, just like Harekrishna mantra. I mean, if you really get into it, and you get past the mind's always fighting and everything, and then you're just hearing the syllables, you can. It's not like, all right, enough already. It's not like that. It's like there's a special taste. I mean, the karmis, they think, stop already. We had a guy on the Harinam, I told this, I don't know if you heard before, where we have this sign. Yamuna Pati spent a lot of time making the sign. It's kind of heavy, so we didn't take it out so much. But it's a really nice sign, Hare Krishna mantra sign, for the people to read the mantra. So I'm standing there with the sign. I forget if I was standing or someone else had it. And one of these homeless guys comes up. I don't know, maybe we woke him up or something. Bam! He's socking, gets a big sock on the sign, makes a little dent in it, and then runs away. He ran away. So this is the, and you see sometimes people, that's the craziest song I ever heard in my life. What are you guys? So people, there's a blockage there. The Yoga Maya, as it says, Krishna cannot be seen or appreciated, just in Maya. But if we just overcome that and we take part, quickly, if you, depending on your sincerity, you'll get into it. You can feel it. And now we have, like we didn't have in my day, these Hare Krishna, the chanting melas, where devotees will gather for a whole week. That's basically what they do all day. You have these devotees become very skillful. And you can really get into those. So so the Amrita, it never gets stale. We'll never tire of hearing Monday service. One never tires of hearing about Krishna. It's for this reason only that the history of the whole universe is replete with references to the pastimes of the Lord. So this ever freshness. This is, again, the word vibhuti in here, in text 18. So the idea is if you become a little bit more purified, the more purified you are, the more you appreciate that. There's so many stories, Prabhupada on Janmashtami. Generally, he would have the devotees, fasting all day, and which is a big deal, especially in those days. And then in the evening, you gather for kirtan, and then you sit and you read the Krishna book. And Prabhupada would listen to the devotees read the Krishna book. Now it would go on into the night, 9:30, and gradually the devotees, they hadn't eaten anything, And the classic, you have a bunch of sannyasis with the poles. They used to all carry those poles, the dandas, So the poles are starting to dip, And finally, maybe at 10:30, 11, Prabhupada realizes that they're not listening. Well, he's completely ecstatic, hour after hour, just hearing, from his own Krishna book, Says, okay, have a big kirtan, and then break the kirtan you can stay awake for. But that's the sign of someone. There's one verse, I always forget, Lakshanam, but it's Kapila Muni explaining a symptom or a characteristic of someone who's really advanced, and that is that as soon as he hears Krishna Katha, the mind is fixed, and the flow of your attention is there just like the Ganges flowing into the sea. There's no question about it, And you can go on for hours listening to that. All right, let's do one more, at least. So now Krishna is going to answer. Arjuna has been speaking now, glorifying Krishna and asking him to delineate his vibhutis. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Hantate Katayishyami Divya Yatma Vibhutiyaha Pradhanyata Kuru Shreshta Nastyanto Vistarasya Me. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, yes, I will tell you of my splendorous manifestations, but only of those which are prominent, O Arjuna, for my opulence is limitless. Again, the word vibhuti here. You notice? Atma vibhuti. Purport. It is not possible to comprehend the greatness of Krishna and his opulences. The senses of the individual soul are limited and do not permit him to understand the totality of Krishna's affairs. Still, the devotees try to understand Krishna, but not on the principle that they will be able to understand Krishna fully at any specific time or in any state of life. Rather, the very topics of Krishna are so relishable that they appear to the devotees as nectar. Thus, the devotees enjoy them. In discussing Krishna's opulences and his diverse energies, the pure devotees take transcendental pleasure. Therefore, they want to hear and discuss them. Krishna knows that living entities do not understand the extent of his opulences. He therefore agrees to state only the principal manifestations of his different energies. The word pradhanyata, principle, is very important because we can understand only a few of the principal details of the Supreme Lord, for his features are unlimited. it is not possible to understand them all. And vibhuti, as used in this verse, refers to the opulences by which he controls the whole manifestation. In the Amarakosh dictionary, it is stated that vibhuti indicates an exceptional opulence. The impersonalist or pantheist cannot understand the exceptional opulences of the Supreme Lord, nor the manifestations of his divine energies, both in the material world and in the spiritual world. His energies are distributed in every variety of manifestation. Now Krishna is describing what can be directly perceived by the common man. Thus, part of his variegated energy is described in this way. So, we're going to hear of Krishna's opulences, and these are some of these things we don't have daily contact with, because he's going to name some, of priests, Sayam Brahaspati and all these different things. But some of them are right next to us, the Atma. I mean, the Atma is as close as it can be. And so it's good to know some of these things, because we can see, I am among the stars, I am the moon. Let's see the moon, think of Krishna, and on like that. So this is important. In the second chapter, I think it's the second chapter of the second canto, it's called The First Steps in God Realization. And it's a similar thing, but it involves like the universal form. The universal form is another way of doing the same thing. Like right here, you go a little bit east and you're going to hit some mountains, right? I remember when I was flying over, no, actually, that's one thing to fly over, but I remember driving through the desert. I'd never done that before. This was a few years ago. I drove to Boulder, Colorado. And what's kind of impressive there, this is all natural, but there's these, huge formations, rock formations and all these things. And I remember flying over that and remembering, oh, this is universal form. The power and the energy that went into making those formations. That's Krishna's energy. And it all has there's a pattern to it. There's an intelligence behind it. You can see that. So that's what the universal form is for. That's even said right in the Bhagavatam. It's imaginary. It's not. But just as our body is, we imagine that it's us. So the whole universe is Krishna's external body. It's not Krishna himself, but it's a reflection of Krishna, just like our body is moving according to our consciousness and will. So you can know something about the soul from the external body. So you can know something about Krishna by seeing, the sun and the moon are his eyes, and the rivers are his veins and all these different things. So if you can remember that, then it's not the same just to see the earth. A geologist sees the earth. There's one devotee who's a geologist, and he was trained, why? To look for the formations where you can find some oil underneath. Oh, and then you get a good salary for that, right? So he's not seeing that. I mean, before he became a devotee, he wasn't seeing it as the body of God or anything. It's just like, this is how we can exploit the earth. But afterward, you can understand. The whole thing is the consciousness with which you see things. I like to point that out. When I was a kid, I grew up near New York, so I would go into the museums. There's a lot of museums in New York. I became a little familiar with Picasso paintings and all these different things. So then, for my birthday, I don't know, I was 15 years old or something. My parents gave me these books, like 4 or 5 books on art. Going back to the Middle Ages and everything like that, and explaining what's going on in the art, the different styles and all this different thing. So then when I went to college, I also took an art course, and it was you see it means so much more to you. Just like our own paintings here. People can walk in here and they say, "Oh, that's a nice painting," but they don't know what it means. But for us, oh, that's Sita Ram, and oh, there's Lord Chaitanya, on in the Sankirtan, and so much that happened in the past time, because you have a knowledge. You're seeing differently. You're seeing through the eyes of knowledge. A baby walks in, in mother's arms, bunch of colors, doesn't even see any forms, right? So the whole thing is your consciousness. So that this chapter is meant to train our consciousness so that we can see Krishna in the magnificent things of this world. That's the whole idea. Okay. Even my iPod is giving signal that we're almost done. Low battery. maybe I have a low battery. All right, so we'll end with something sweet. We will pick up tomorrow with 20. It's very appropriate because Krishna is starting his list of the things he is manifested in. Okay, here's one that I hadn't thought of for quite a while, but it's a nice glorification of Krishna's holy name. It's at the beginning of a book by Rupa Goswami called Leela Chanda, which is a summary of Krishna's Vrindavan Leela, in the most beautiful verses. So it says, Jiya nama marare prema marandasya navyamadavindam bhavadi hidavasopi svajadalam mukti muktaya. All glory to the chanting, all glory to the holy name of Krishna, Mura's foe. Murari, is one of his names. All glory to the holy name of Krishna, Mura's foe, that names a blooming lotus with ambrosia overflowing, the soothing balm of love of God to cure all pain and woe. Just a dim reflection of that name, even slightly glowing, is like a drop of purest rain that falls within an oyster's shell and brings about the pearl of liberation from this earthly hell. Another one that has about the holy name. This is from Krishna Karnamrita. Jaya 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 Deva 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 Tribhavana Mangala Divyanama Deha Jaya 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 Deva Krishna Deva Shavana Mano Nayanam Tara. O glory, 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 Lord, O glory unto Thee, who with Thy holy name bless all three worlds and set them free. O glory, glory, glory unto Thee, O Krishna Dev, whose nectar floods our ears and eyes and hearts in endless waves. Okay, we have time for one or two more. Shikshastika, starting with verse 3. How do we get a taste for the holy name? Trinadapi sunichena, tadorapi sahishnuna, amanina manadena, kirtaniyak sadahari. More humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree. To think all praise belongs to others, none belongs to me. Such qualities attract the Lord to bless one with the power to chant His name incessantly until the final hour. Okay, so now I'm chanting. What should I chant for? What should I pray for? Lord Chaitanya teaches us, Nadanang najanang nasundaring kavitam va jagadish kamahe mama janmani janmanishware bhavata bhaktadahayutu ki tvahi. Wealth and women, followers, the fruits of mundane piety, liberation from this world of limitless anxiety. For me, O Lord, these common goals have not the slightest worth. Let me serve You purely now and in each future birth. Oh, one more. Next prayer. This is really how we should pray. Because that was just to the Lord of the universe. But we want to play the Lord of the universe. We want to play to Krishna, the Lord of Vrindavan. Ayanandatanu jikinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavamodho kripayata vapada pankajas tetaduli sadrisham vichindaya. Your servant for eternity, I lost my true identity and fell into this horrid sea of birth and death, O Lord. O Nanda's son, please hear my plea. By Your sweet grace, consider me a speck of dust upon Your lotus feet forevermore. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.